My name is Erica, and today I'm going to show you how to make a necklace / pendant. So you're going to start with 3 20 gauge base wires. This is a pretty big stone, so I cut 9 to 10 inches of wire, and then I have a bobbin of weaving wire. It's a little easier to save wire that way too, using a bobbin, so you don't have to trim too much. So anyways, I'm going to start out on wire 1, and you're going to want to put 4 rotations on wire 1. And then go around wire 1 and 2, up between wire 1 and 2, around wire 2 and 3, and then you're going to wrap up and then 3 times around wire 3. And then you're going to wrap wire 2 and 3, and then come all the way down and wrap wire 1 and 2, and then around wire 1 again 4 times. And that is 1 rotation. And you're going to want to do that until you reach your measurement point, and just keep pushing your weave together. And then what it's going to make is this pattern right here. And then it's this on the other side. So it's a versatile pattern. If I can get it to focus right for you guys. There we go. So it's this pattern here, which is the one I just taught you, and it's this pattern as well, so you can use either side. Now the way I get my measurements is I will use a 6-inch ruler to mark the middle line, and I just line it up to where I guesstimate the measurements on either side. That's excess wire. You can also just use a 12-inch ruler, find the middle mark, which should be 6 inches. But on my ruler, I have 3-inch, or the 3-inch mark is the middle mark. So that's what I use, and I'll mark that. And then you can measure your stone at the 3-inch mark too, and then come out from the 3-inch mark on either side. That way you have an even weave, and that way it goes evenly across your stone, and that way these wires are even as well. So I hope that helps you guys. I'm going to start with picking which side I want to show. Now you can use this side or this side again, and I believe I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use this side this time, because I have one that I've made one with this weave showing already, so I'm going to use that weave. Now you can bend your wires around your stone however you like, but I like to hold mine like this and then bring it around, because it's a lot easier than laying it on the table and then bringing the wires around, because your back wire is always weirdly positioned. for me anyways. So I'm going to make sure so in order to bend your wires around your stone, if you want, you can just hold it like this and center it before you begin bending, and just form the wire on either side first, just so that it doesn't have a big gap right here in the bottom. And make sure that your weave is centered before you begin bending it the rest of the way around. The weave that I showed you is a really tight weave. And it's hard to move once the weave is in place. So now that I have the basic shape of my stone, I'm going to go around and make sure that these are all lined up. Now your front and back wires, you're going to want those to be slightly bent in more. I'm going to go ahead and do those wires. So I'm just going to make some adjustments. And make sure that my weave is pushed in nice and tight. So after some adjusting, I am satisfied finally with the design, or with the way that this goes around the stone. So I'm just going to continue the bend around my stone. So I'm pushing on the stone and I'm pushing toward the weave while I'm doing this. This seems to help me to prevent a gap right here. Now I need the bail wires first. So I'm going to go ahead and bring these on around. So I want the bail wires to come in fairly far. So this is what's going to help to hold your stone in as well. I'm going to pinch the stone and my wires in between my thumb and my forefinger and just bend this on down. That way it doesn't mess with this bend I've already put here. trying to bend a little wonky on me on this side, so I'm gonna do some adjusting real quick. Now, if your weave separates any while you're bending your wires where they're supposed to be around your stone, make sure and push them back together before you begin bending these in like that. So you don't need much space between the stone and this gap right here, which is where most people usually put their bail through at. You don't need much space there. I'm going to use my bail making pliers to straighten up this portion of this wonky bend and then move my light. I'm going to use my tweezer nose pliers and begin at the end right here. So right here is the center mark of my stone. I'm just going to come right up from this center mark and bend my bail wires up. So that they're parallel to one another. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing to the back wires that we done to the front wires. The middle wires, you just need to bend them around the circumference of your stone and try to get them as close to your stone as you can. So I'm going to hold mine here and mark the center. I'm going to mark it right on that center mark of my stone. The center mark of my stone comes right up here. So, anyways, I need to bend on the black mark and then in between those two back black marks in order to get it right up on my stone. You don't have to do all the measuring and stuff if you don't want to. You can just wing it. I like winging it. It's a good way to be. Just wing it. And it turns out perfectly fine. Anyways, so I'm going to begin this bend on that. Well, I guess I'll do the back ones first. So I have my front ones bent up, and now I'm going to bend the back ones up parallel to one another. I need to make sure that these are the same distance inside, pushed in there. First, I want to push my weave back together because it's inched its way apart just a little. So I'm going to begin to bend here, a bend here, and then I'll begin the other bend right about here. So you need them to be able to touch one another so that your weave goes right. So just make sure that everything measures up right and are equal distances apart. And it does. Or they do. Now, before I do any adjusting to these back wires, I'm going to hold these middle wires down with my thumb and pointer finger against the stone, best that I can. So I'm going to use these marks. Just bend them up. Now these need to be perfectly parallel if you can get them there. But if not, that's fine. And these don't need to go over the stone, they go around it. Now, once I bend them up, I can adjust where I need to. So I'm going to bend right here. Now, you can use a spare piece of wire to pair these together if you want. But if you don't, that's fine too. So I need to adjust this one just a tiny bit. to make sure that that it goes around the stone instead of sliding down onto the stone like the front and back does. So these look good. I don't need them to slip any. They're almost together right here around the stone. Okay, so that everything looks good. I'm gonna pop my stone out back here and adjust the back wires to where they're just parallel to one another. They are right now, but they're not straight up and down, and I need them to be straight up and down to do the weaves. And to connect everything. So I'm going to start weaving my bell. The corners right here, they need to be parallel to one another and even, because that is going to be on the face of your stone. So I'm going to start by weaving the bell together. I've got my bobbin of weaving wire. You can use whichever gauge you're comfortable with using. I'm going to bend the tips out a little just to make it easier on my fingers. So I'm going to anchor it 1, 2, 3 times. And the tail end of the wire, I'm going to tuck it behind. But I'm going to make sure that I have both wires together first. So my wire's coming out the back of my stone here. I'm going to come around and weave 2 times on wire 2. And 2. And come back and weave 2 times on wire 1, 2. Push that weave together best that you can. Wrap once around both wires. 1. I'll wait. Okay, so I'm going to start that one over. 29, 30. I'm going to anchor my weaving wire off 3 times. 3 times. Bring this down. And then I'm going to wrap wire 2 once. Come back, wrap wire 1 once. Back to 2 once. Back to 1 once. Push your weave together. And then wrap once around both wires. And then wrap wire 1 once, wire 2 once, wire 1 once, and wire 2 once. And that's a full rotation and my anchor wire. So I'm going to do this weave and I'll be right back. Make sure to push your weave down. Make sure that both base wires are even with one another. Okay, so I've got my bell woven. It's about it's a little over 1.5 inches. Or right at 1.5 inches, yeah. It's right at 1.5 inches of bale. So, I'm going to trim the back. And I'm going to trim it as close as possible. And since it's in the back, we don't have to tuck it like in between the wires. I'm just going to smooth it over this wire here, the tail end of it. The tail end is what's left after trimming or before trimming. Like the tail end that's on your wires that go, the decorative wires like these. I always keep a copy of, I always keep the original piece that I've made. And this one has a lot of patina on it, and it's made with copper wire USA wire. So it's really near and dear to me. Anyways, so the back looks like this, but we're going to do a bit of a different design because I learned a better way of doing the back. I'm self-taught. There wasn't any wire tutorials or things like that whenever I first started. So I had to come up with my own designs. And anyways, so I did learn a new way to do the backs of the cabs that are, or of the pieces that are like this. Instead of taking your pliers, bending your wire in, you're just leaving it rounded. Anyways, so I'm going to show you a new way to do that. Look at that druzy in that guy. That's so pretty. It's a little quartz druzy right in the side, right in the, I wish that was on the front. I didn't realize that it was that thin whenever I was making it. Anyways, so I'm going to get back to work and then I'm going to show you how to finish up this piece. Whenever you get to the side wires, which are these, you're going to pull one side you're going to pull one of these to either side. And I'll show you how to do that when the time comes. But for now, you're going to, instead of making these match up, you need to weave them like that. Because this is the back of your piece, and this is what holds your stone in. Anyways, so I'm going to weave them like this to the side, and I'm going to start with pointing my weaving wire in. And then I'm going to do, let's see, I think 10. Yeah, 10 wraps in between Well, we need the main coil to be on the back. So I'm going to start on the back wire, which is this one, and it goes on the back of your stone. And I'm going to wrap 10 times around it. Now this is a tail end wire, and we'll cut that and we'll trim that whenever we get on up when we get our weave done. We'll trim it. So I've got five wraps. Now I'm gonna do 5 more, and then I'll show you the rest of this rotation, and then we'll fast forward through all of the weaving. So I'm going to use the same wrap on both sides, but it's really important to put the main coil on the back wire because of the way it's going to look whenever you wrap it around the front of your stone. And once you get 10 wraps, you need to wrap once around both wires, and then continue to do 10 more wraps once around both wires, and so on. So I'm going to do that and then fast forward through it. So I'm going to trim this now that I've got enough wire on here to hold it to where it doesn't pull straight through my base wires. And then I'm just going to burnish it on around. It also shines your wire, but it also smooths it out up against the base wires, and that's why I like burnishing instead of just clamping down. So I'm going to scooch this down while I can without damaging anything. So you want some of your first coil to go on down to your first portion of your bend there of the back wire, and they need to stay like that so that this wire goes securely and snugly around the back of your stone. So I'm going to pull out a length of wire and continue my wrap or weave. So I'm going to pull out a portion of wire and leave it on this side, and then I'll continue weaving on this side. Now, if you need to adjust these wires, you can once you get everything in place and attached. Now I gotta get a spool of copper weaving wire, and I'll complete this side. So I'm just gonna squish this down in between these wires for now, just to keep it out of the way while I'm working on this side. So now that I have reached my measurement point here, I'm going to also cut a portion of, I'm going to leave a portion of my wire on until I get everything in place and make sure I don't need to remove any of my weave or add any weave. So I'm going to put my stone in now. Now, right now would be the perfect time for you to make sure which way you want your stone to go in. For example, mine's got white on it. It's got some little quartz veins running through it, some little drusies and stuff, as well as the gray tone and stuff. And it's got cool designs on this side. And I want this to show more, or you could, you know, use this side to, you could want this side to show more, because some of your stone may get, it may have some of your weave on it, like this right here, or these little things. They could cover up a piece of your stone that you really want to be seen. So it's important to choose which direction you want your stone to be placed in your piece right now. And I want mine like this, so that this little white is showing and this up here on the corner is showing. Also, be a good time to adjust everything. So this needs a bit of a space on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, just so that I know for sure that this part is around the edge of my stone. And you can also choose which way you want these to come out of your bail. You know, I want mine to be like this one because I'm showing you guys how to make this necklace. So I'm going to point these both in that direction, as well as this one. That one's got to go over there too. So I'm going to put them together and bend. It's not a major bend, but just enough of a bend to where they're both facing in that direction. You can use a piece of painter's tape to hold these together while you're doing your bail, or like a piece of scrap wire or something, or you could just hold them yourself. Totally up to you. I'm going to grab my bail making pliers. Now, this design is for a larger opening, as you can tell here. So I'm going to use the largest one here to start my bend, and I want to start up here, and then just gradually bend it around while trying to make sure that it's bending in the right, trying to make sure that it's bending in the right direction and that it doesn't have any kinks in it. And I'm going to push this up toward my stone a little. So that is going to wedge your stone in there real tight. And that's what you want. I need to bring it on around some. So I'm going to push against my stone and adjust this a little. So I'm just shaping it right now. Okay. Bring in tweezer nose pliers and get this opened here. Push your weave up. And open up your bail here. And now I'm going to bring my bail wires around these. to come around evenly and pretty tight. So I'm going to squeeze the wire that I just brought around my bail right there on both sides. Just to make sure that I have a really tight fit. Okay. Bring your wires on around. Now you can bring them down under here if you want, or you can bring them on through your bail. Now there's a lot going on inside of my bail, so I'm going to bring them up through the base wires here. Oops, wrong ones. Bring it on around. Give it a squeeze. Continue that wire on around one more time. If you need to trim it, then trim it now, because that's all that is going to go through the base wire that is on the back of the stone. I just want it, I just want it to go around and under, but not completely under. So I'm going to use the tips of these pliers to just trim that end a little, right there. And I'm going to burnish it on around a little. And then I'm going to do the same with this side. And it needs to be trimmed right about here, because I don't want it to go all the way through a second time. I just want that look of it going through twice. Okay. Now I'm squeezing them on up close to my bail. If you get any gaps right here in between your stone and your wire, then you can just adjust that wire there back to the way it was. Okay, now I have both my wires on this side, so I'm going to do the one that's on this side. I'm just going to bring it on out some. And then I'm going to bring this one around and make sure I don't need to add any more weave to it, which I might. So you can use your bail making pliers for this too. But first I need to take my nylon jaws and bring it around and up. So it needs to be flipped. Now you can flip it. And then I'm going to bring it forward. You can use nylon or your bail making pliers for this part if you want. I believe I have just enough weave to do what I need to do. So I'm going to bring this extra wire down, push my weave up, and then add one more rotation in just for good measure. The last rotation, I'm only going to put 5 on. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. I'm going to trim the weaving wire now and tuck it, burnish and tuck. I just want to make sure that it's not around the front of the stone. So I'm just going to burnish it around the back here. Push my weave together. And this one has to come up. I have enough weave for the other one, so I'm going to trim and tuck. I'm going to do the same thing that I've done to this side on this side, only you need to make sure that the coil side is facing one another. So the main coil on this one is facing the bail, and the main coil on this one is facing away from the bail. So I'm going to use these pliers to begin the bend around this one. I'm just bending a little bit at a time. So this side I'm going to bring it out, and this side I'm bringing it out, and I'm going to curl these wires into the frame, but I just want this portion, the front portion of the frame, and then this one is going to come on down, and I need it. You have to press against your stone and bring this on around into a loop. You can use nylon jaws to do this part if you want. It's a little bit easier. And then whenever I get back to the weave, I'm going to bring my wires under. And when I bring these wires under, I'm going to bring them through this frame. Okay. It's a little easier to adjust once your wires are through the frame. I'm going to work on this side now. Bring these back through your frame. You can do it individually or both at the same time. Totally up to you. I'm going to use my round nose pliers to go ahead and bring that wire all the way through. Oops. These tend to make a big dent in my wire. That's why I don't use them much. Bring it on around here. So if you run out of wire right here, all you do is bring these on through and around this base wire, okay? I don't have enough wire on mine, so I've messed up on some measurements somewhere, somehow. And, but anyway, so these tail ends here, just bring them on through your base wire, and then, so that they look like this, okay? So, since I don't have enough here, I'm just going to trim and tuck. Because I don't want to have any gnarled up wire. So I'm just going to bring these two around to burnish them. And adjust this. Okay. Now this side, I've just brought it through, and I'm going to just simply bring it back down. And then I'll use liver of sulfur on this piece. So here, I'm just going to curve the wire in. Right? And then I'm going to push it down against my base wires. Just make sure that it's really secure against the stone. And then I'm going to use these to bring it back out and into a little curl here. So I'm burnishing the end of this. So that's going to smooth out this little curl, and it will also allow for me to go ahead and bend it on around. Right? So I'm going to do the same with this side. Bring it on around into a curl, like a little loop there. Copper is fairly soft metal, so I'm going to burnish it in the opposite direction. Get back down near this one. So now we have a piece that looks something like this. I'm going to bend these down to where they're against the stone, as far against the stone as I can get them. So I hope you guys enjoyed making this necklace with me and making this tutorial. If you guys have any questions, just post them down in the comment section below. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to. Have a wonderful week. Thank you.